on the agenda. Do we have any comments?
There are no registered public comment, Madam Mayor.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We will recess to closed session.
I'd like to recuse myself from 4B, please.
Okay.
And Madam Mayor,
Yes.
before the council recesses the closed session, I have a request.
Okay.
Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the addition of an item to the closed session portion of tonight's agenda under Government Code Section 54954.2 B2, which authorizes the City Council to add an item to the agenda with a 2/3 vote of the City Council, with a finding that there is a need to take immediate action, and the need to take action came to the attention of the local agency subsequent to the agenda being posted as specified. Here, the affidavit of posting by the city clerk shows the agenda was posted on May 20th, and the case I'm referencing below was filed on May 24th after the posting of the agenda. The item I'm recommending that be added is item 4D, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, pursuant to paragraph 1 of subdivision D of section 54956.9. The name of the case is In Re Western Community Energy. It's a bankruptcy court case for the Central District of California. Case number 621-BK 12821.
All right. Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to add that item as an emergency item to the closed session.
Second.
All right. We have a first and a second. You want to do a roll call vote?
Motion made by Councilmember Krupa, second by Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowenthal?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nails?
Yes.
Mayor Meyer?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0 to add the emergency item for existing litigation.
Thank you. All right. We will adjourn to closed session. By Pastor Chris Engel from Bible Fellowship Church, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance by Mayor Pro Tem Nails. Please stand.
Thank you so much. I just want to read just a short little quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt in regards to prayer. He says, "I ask that our people devote themselves in a continuance of prayer, that we rise to
Your entry is not valid.
And again, when each day is spent, let words of prayer be on our lips." Let's pray. Lord, we come to you today and we just thank you so much for the opportunity to be in this place. We thank you that you have gifted each one of us in this place with the gift of life. For you have told us in your word that you are the creator of all things and that you have a special plan for each one of our lives. And we want to thank you today for your Son, Jesus, who gave his life on the cross for us, that we might be forgiven and that we have the eternal hope of salvation to hold to and to cling to in difficult times. And we know that we're living in difficult times today. And I know there's a lot of people, Lord, in our city, in our valley, in our nation, that are living in a state of fear and anxiety as this pandemic has brought those feelings into the forefronts of their minds. And for the very first time, many people are contemplating their mortality and the idea that maybe they could die. And so I pray, Lord, for those people. I pray for those in our valley, for the families and the children that are living in our valley that are struggling with mental health issues, that are struggling with anxiety and depression. I pray that you would come into their lives, that you would make yourself known to them, and that you would bring healing into their lives. And I pray, Lord, for our leaders in our valley, that you would grant them great wisdom. For you've told us from your word that if we are lacking in wisdom, that we should just come and ask you, Lord, for you contain and possess all wisdom, and that you would delve out wisdom generously. So we ask for that wisdom today, and ask that you would guide the conversations and the decisions that are made today here in this council meeting. And I pray, Lord, for our valley, just generally speaking, that you would pour out your Spirit on this valley, that we would experience a moving of your Spirit like we have never experienced before, and that we would once again see lives changed and touched and healed, because we know, Lord, that government does not have the answers that we need. But we know that the answers come from the Creator of the universe, the one who planned all of this and who holds us in his hands. And so we ask, God, that you would pour your Spirit out once again on this place, and that we would see your hand working and moving, and that we would experience healing. And Lord, we want to say to you today how much we appreciate all that you have done for us, especially through your Son Jesus. And we want to tell you today that we trust you. We trust you with our lives. We pray it all in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
If you have a hat, please uncover. Place your right hand on your heart, please, and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 10, City Attorney, would you like to report out of our closed session?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no items to report out of closed session this evening.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have item number 11, communications from the public. At this time, we will take public comment. Each speaker is asked to fill out a speaker slip and will be given 3 minutes. The timer isn't working, so I set the timer on my phone. You'll hear the buzzer. Don't make me ask, but, let's just give everybody their talking time. All right, so first we will have public comment for items not listed on the agenda. Do we have any e-comments first?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I have 3 comments. The first by Sandy Madrid. Town hall meeting on 5/18/21. Comment on Facebook by Ann Smith. HPD stuff that shouldn't be doing, ? Second public comment is Charles Proctor. Traffic stops should be made and tickets given for loud exhaust, illegal windows tinting, illegal engine modifications. I feel this would be helpful and law enforcement would likely find other illegal stuff and the city would make money from all the fines. I'm going to do my best and due diligence to read the next one. This one's 2 pages. From Ken Graff. For the record and transparency, I grew up in Hemet and care about how it is run. I'm a Vietnam veteran and have been a resident of Seven Hills District 4 for 20 years. I've known Mike Madrid, another Seven Hills resident, for over 17 years and have supported him in the November election with a $100 donation to his campaign and a few volunteer hours putting up election campaign signs. I had 2 reasons for protesting Joe Males being on the ballot. When he took on his candidate papers, he was not a resident of the district. He was claiming to be present, and he did not return a complete set of election forms required of all candidates. A search of official forms filed with the city revealed Males' application was missing. The state mandated 501 form, which required him to state under penalty of perjury that he was a resident of the district, in which he would require him the penalty of perjury that he was a resident of the district he would be seeking. He couldn't legally submit the form since he didn't live in the district. Second, the papers he turned in to the city, according to the city clerk, were not received until after the legal date for filing. On September 29th, the city clerk sent an email to candidates and 4 council members that there had been an error extending the nomination period and accepting papers from a 3rd candidate for District 4 was a violation of the city and state election rules. Aware of the problem, the 4 sitting council members could not reach a majority decision that would have directed the city staff to proceed the corrective measures before ballots were sent out with an unqualified last-minute candidate listed for District 4. With an offered help from attorney Priscilla Madrid, and yes, she is Mike Madrid's daughter, I chose to ask the court to correct the error made since a 2-2 city council couldn't agree on setting the record straight. The hearing in the Riverside Superior Court before the election, Joe Males' attorney for the city of Hemet, and attorney for the county registrar of voters, all made arguments that so close to the election changing the ballot would be confusing for voters in District 4. The judge agreed. He allowed that the election would go forward with the ballots as they were and directed by my attorney, and I too wait and see what happened after the election. Of 6,339 votes cast in District 4, Joe Males won the election with 3,605 votes over Mike Madrid's 1,959 votes and Vishwas Shinde's 775 votes. Available to anyone who wants to check the City of Hemet election website are campaign funding reports of each candidate, Form 460, as of 9/19/2020. The filed reports reveal that Joe Males received $12,700 in cash campaign donations. He reported no loans and no funds of his own used for his campaign. The form shows that the Hemet Firefighters Association and Union made a $5,000 cash donation to Males and 2 other councilmember candidates on the ballot. Following the HFFA, Males received another $6,000 and 3 large cash donations, one of $3,000, one of $2,000, and one of $1,000. As of 10/17/2020, Mike Madrid reported $6,823 in cash and donations. $4,000 of that was personal loan to his campaign from his own loan funds. The largest single cash donation Madrid received was $900. His average campaign donation from all individuals who contributed was $145. V. Shind reported $0 in campaign donations from others. Those official records show Joe Males took more than twice the cash contributions than Madrid. After the election, my protest went to the French Valley Court, then back to Riverside Superior Court. When trial before the judge finally took place, it was over in less than 30 minutes, since the fact could not be denied that Males was not a resident of the district when he applied for office. The judge never got the fact papers had submitted to be accepted by the city clerk after the deadline, before he found the election of Joe Males invalid. In pursuit of transparency, I'd like to set the record straight. The truth is, Hemet San Jacinto Action Group had nothing to do with me taking my protest to court in the first place. I am not and never have been a member of that group. They have nothing but work to improve life for everyone in the valley for many years, including support of Measure U to raise funds for the public safety in Hemet. They do not try to control either Hemet or San Jacinto governments. The group nor its members did not contribute a single penny to my attempt to set the record straight. There has been a talk about good old boys, big money, and who runs the city. So for transparency's sake, here is something to think about. The Hemet Firefighters Association contributed $5,000 each to Joe Males, Carly Meyer, Michael Percival, then $1,500 to the treasurer candidate Gladys Savage for a total of $16,500. Hemet Land Management, Wayne Miner, contributed $6,000. Joanne Morella contributed $6,000. California Real Estate PAC, $5,000. And Wayne Miner Motorsports, another $1,000. None of these names appear on the membership of the roster of the Hemet San Jacinto Action Group. For transparency, it also should be pointed out that the Hemet Firefighters Association paid another $10,000 to Joe Males to help him with his legal fees. HFFA Form 460 for the period from 10/18 to 2020 through 12/31/2020, page 5 of 8. On social media and public meetings, there has been support for the accomplishments of the new city council. So it's clear. The changes include the city clerk resigned, the city attorney was fired and quickly replaced by an appointment. Instead of a bid process, the fire chief has taken early retirement, and 3 long city employees have left their jobs. The 7-member Measure U committee watchdog of the city council spends Measure U funds had 5 new faces appointed. Of these 5 appointed, one last-minute name did not have any application documents on the city website. Another last-minute application was missing any information about qualifications or background. And another applicant had the original application from February 2020 modified to add Measure U to the application at a time for the new council to appoint them to watch over the council as they spend the Measure U funds any way they decide. In closing, also to set the record straight, I have no issues with Joe Males. It's not personal, but the rules are rules, and the city council, more than anyone, should follow them. Regarding who seems to be influencing the majority of the city council, the facts speak for themselves. A union group, a real estate PAC, 2 businesses owned by an individual and other individuals have contributed a total of $34,500 to support 3 council member candidates and getting their city treasurer candidate elected last November. The new council has sole control over $10 million a year in Measure U public safety money and has appointed 5 new members to the 7-member Watchdog Measure U Citizens Oversight Committee. 3 of those 5 apparently handpicked at the last minute by the members of the new majority council. According to the census figures, about 85,500 residents live in Hemet. Last November, 3 council seats are the majority needed to control the city and its budget were filled with just 8,798 votes. 3,605 of those votes went to a candidate that should not have been in the ballot. Those facts are the basis of my concerns. But it's not just my fight anymore. It should be up to the other ordinary people like me who live in Hemet to keep an eye on how the government is run. For transparency, Ken Graff. And that concludes e-comments, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry I did not have my timer on. I didn't realize it was going to be as lengthy as it was, but since we started without a timer, we'd like to have it complete. Awesome. Okay, and next we will go on to speaker request forms here in the room. First we have Mary Ann Derwin.
Good evening, Council, Madam Mayor. So for the last 4.5 years, I've been coming to almost every single meeting. I've missed very few. And I first started coming because I started fighting with the water company and not feeling that I was being charged or charged too much. And it just kind of escalated from there. And every time I'd show up, I always had something else I wanted to say. However, here I come, and in the last 6 months, I'd like to say that we now have a power team up there where it has come to where everybody seems to me to be on the same page, and I really don't now have anything really that important that I want to fight about, because all of the issues that I came up here with originally 4.5 years of doing this have been taken care of. What has happened, though, is that I'd like to commend Russ for, I understand that a couple meetings ago you did vote on something that you really didn't feel was right for you personally, but you did it for the sake of the city, and that was really commendable of you to do that. I've seen a big change, and I see that there's a big conflict going on right now. But I'd like to let you all know that, you know what, right now we have a power team up there that are getting things done. And since I've been coming here for 4.5 years, I have not seen as much done as I have in the last 6 months. So let's just keep it going and make sure that, you know, we understand what's all happening. And not everybody's going to agree, but that's okay. But I just want to let you know that I have seen a change. We have done some big changes, and let's just keep moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Roy Terraza, followed by Jesse Coran.
Good evening. My name is Roy Terraza, and I'm here to support Joe. Joe has been doing a lot of good things here in the valley. I've been living here in Hemet for 30 years already. 30 years ago, it was slow motion. And now, right now, 30 years later, there's a war zone going on here in Hemet. There's a lot of necessities. And I believe that Joe is doing a very, very good job in what he's doing in the community. And I want to give you a metaphor. He's holding a grubbing tool on one hand and a vacuum cleaner on the other side of his hand. And he's cleaning up Hemet. He's doing a good work here, a good job. And I would recommend Joe to leave him in his position where he's at, because you take him out of the position, it's going to be a mess here. And I just believe that Joe is the man that needs to be where he's at right now and cleaning up our town right now, because there's a big need, a major need here in town right now. And Joe's the man. Okay, thank you.
Jesse Caron, followed by Julian Perez.
Oh, good evening. My name is Jesse Cuaron. I'm the senior pastor here at Living Way right up the street. And I want to say this, you know, I've been serving this community for 15 years. When I say serving this community, I mean dealing with the same types of people that our Hemet PD deals with. I'm out there, you know, working with those that have been in trouble, trying to keep people out of trouble, trying to mentor the youth so that they too don't follow into the path in which, you know, some of us have lived. And, you know, in all the years that I've been serving Hemet, 15 years, I've never met any of these people that are opposing Joe. I've never met anybody coming out to the street and say, hey, I see what you guys are doing. I had Police Chief Rob Webb. I had Police Chief David Brown. And even our current police chief, Eddie, come out and stand by our sides and recognize our involvement in the community. And not that we're looking for involvement, but what I'm saying is, where have all the other, I mean, I'm not talking about this group here, I'm talking in the past, before this group existed. You know, and what we see today is a group of people coming outside and saying, hey, let's make Hemet better. Let's go out there and connect with those people that are already doing things to make Hemet a better place. And it's only broadened the effort. It's only, you know, many people, as the lady here shared, you know, she sees the difference. I mean, it's obvious to the eye. And so I want to stand here in support of Joe Males and say, you know what, not just Joe himself, but with his crew, you know, you guys are doing an awesome job. And I believe that Joe should remain where he's at. He's one of the individuals that steps alongside of us, rolls up his sleeves, and gets his hands dirty. He's not just talking the talk, he's walking the walk. And it's important, as a resident to this city, this is what I want. This is why the Lord sent me out here, so that I can help with building whatever He's called me to do. And so I'll continue my fight and my effort, and I want to just ask that you know that Joe just remain where he's at, because I don't see anybody else that's filled his shoes in the past. That I never met any of them, not once, in 15 years of my ministry, right here up the street, come out and say, hey, how can we help? What are we doing? It's just been left blank. Shame on them. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, City Council.
Julian Perez, followed by Valerie Caron.
All right, Councilman, I just want to thank you guys for doing a good job. I want you to hear something. You guys just heard a lengthy speech by Mr. Ken Graff. Okay, I heard every word he said. But all I heard was numbers, what didn't qualify. I didn't hear a damn thing saying how good a job you guys are all doing as a group right now. Not one. So I want you to think about it. When you do make your judgment calls on whatever you're going to do today, hopefully we keep Joe involved in this. I want you to really think about it, the money you guys have saved. Not Ken Graff, not Mr. Madrid. I don't even know that Mr. Madrid. But if they're worried about numbers and what's this and what's that, and not worried about what the people are really thinking, then they're not a true Hemet. I don't know about how many years you guys have all lived here, but in this valley, I've been here just about 60 years. And I'll tell you what, I have seen the good in this valley. I have seen the thievery in this valley, and I've seen where the good is coming back. And if you do believe in the words of God, God always says He will place people where they need to be placed. And right now, each one of you guys are placed there. Okay, each one of you. And I tell you, because like Russ, you know, you served in the military. You were an honorable policeman and everything. And I look at things that, you know, as Legionnaires, we try to do good for the valley. And so far, everything that you guys have done in 6 months, since I've been back, you guys have done way more than any of the other people. I don't hear nothing about the city attorney ripping people up. I don't hear none of this stuff. All you guys that you picked up there, you picked very good people. And I want you to think about that. It didn't come because Mr. Ken Graff, Eric Gosh, all these guys, they can't fool nobody. Damn, I've known Eric Gosh since the 60s, since he was a young kid too. You know, so he can't tell me what they believe in, what Hemet needs. What Hemet needs is you guys right now. So if you do have an opportunity to be able to vote somebody in to stay, vote for Joe. Vote for what you believe in. All these people here believe in him. They're not here playing games. They're not here with their signs lollygagging and jumping up and down. Damn, if I can jump up and down, I would. Matter of fact, I can jump up and down, but I don't know where I'll land. All right? But the real thing is, don't worry about what minors, all these big people that have been in Hemet forever. Don't worry about what the hell they think. Start worrying about what the people of Hemet think. Because we're the ones that count. Not them people. They count. I'm not saying they're not going to count, because they've done a lot of good. But damn it, we count now. We have a majority. When I was in Hemet, and this is no joke, I know I'll be up in about 30 seconds. When I was in Hemet, there was only Mexicans, and there was only white people. And there was one black family. I know, because they were friends of mine. Look at them now. We have a diversity of everybody here. Whether it's for the good or worse, we have to team up. And the ones that don't want to be here and want to be true Hemet people, get them the hell out. And that's what I feel. If you want to be here, be a good person. And Malcolm, I don't know you personally, but I've heard so many good things about you, man. I'm just glad that you're here serving Hemet as you guys are right now. That's all I want to leave you guys. Please make the right decision. Don't think with the, I can tell you right now, Mr. Ken Graff was here, I'd probably run him over with my wheelchair.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, next we have Valerie Aran, followed by Eloy Alvarez.
Hi. My name is Valerie, and everybody already spoke on the things that I would have shared with you all. But I'm here to thank you personally, Joe, for doing the feet work. You express a true leader, because you don't just say, look at me and look at what I'm doing and do what I say. You're out there doing the footwork. You're with us on the streets where nobody wants to be, on Inez and Valencia and Elk Street. You walk with us. You also, Carly, you come out too. And that means a lot, because where you all are appointed to be is for the people, for the city, and to help it. And it was starving. And, my husband, Jesse Cuadon, shared. There's been a difference. You're doing the feet work. You're building a rapport with the people. You're getting to know them. You're out there in regular clothes, both of you. We see you. They see you. The people see you. And that's why you have so many people behind your back. And I heard what this man read. And it saddens and it breaks my heart to see that the reason why you're trying to be removed is because of paperwork. I don't understand all that. I don't know all that stuff. But one thing I do know is that you're making a difference. You have the support of the people for a reason. And I just say that if they try to remove you, it's just what you have been appointed for up here. All of you are turning an ear to why you've been appointed. And it goes to show morally where the people stand up here, where you sit. Morally, it shows where you stand. What do you stand for? That speaks volumes. And the people see it, and the people know that. So thank you, both of you, for being out there. Thank you, Joe, for being out there. And especially with a man who lost his son to these streets. You're willing to not be afraid or to be angry and to walk away. But with compassion, you're driven, and that means more than just having the know-how or only just having the compassion. You're carrying both of them, and that means a lot because your heart is in it, and you're not greedy. You're for the people, and we see that. So I speak to all of you here today. Don't forget why you have been appointed to sit here, because as the people, we're watching, and we're seeing all of you. And where you want to stand today, not just before us, but I believe before the Lord. At night, you guys have to go home, and you have to deal with that between you and Him. But it's about the people. It's not about the money. And we know that, Joe and Carly. We know that. So thank you. And that's all I have to say.
Eloy Alvarez, followed by Salvador Gonzalez.
Good evening, council members. My name is Eloy Alvarez, Regional Director with SEIU Local 721. I don't know a whole lot more than I can say than the individuals that have just come up to express their appreciation for Councilmember Joe Males. Obviously, Joe is loved by his community. He is loved by the people of the city of Hemet. And needless to say, he's loved by SEIU 721 members. Not just because he was in support of the city employees receiving a cost of living increase, but when we came to Joe, he heard our concerns. He truly identified the sacrifice and saw the hard work that the city employees have done for the city of Hemet. And Joe isn't like your typical politician that we typically come across, who just gives you words. Joe truly puts action behind everything that he says. And it's demonstrated here today by all these wonderful people here in support of Joe. He wants to clean up the city. He wants to make the city of Hemet a better and wonderful community than it already is. And everyone talks about doing great things. Everyone makes a commitment to do wonderful things. Joe actually gets them done. And we want to express our appreciation and our support for Councilmember Joe Males, SEIU 721 members, and obviously the community is behind Councilmember Joe Males. And even if the decision is made today not to keep Joe Males, we will be back. Joe Males will be back. Joe Males is going to be a figurehead in this city council. We can guarantee you that. So Joe, you have our support. You have the support of SEIU 721, and obviously you have the support of the wonderful community of the city of Hemet. And we look forward to working with you for years to come. Thank you for your service.
Salvador Gonzalez, followed by Hope Rhodes.
Good evening, council. Last time I was here, I was somewhat angry. Thank you guys. You guys have been amazing, and you guys believe me, we are talking. We do appreciate everything you guys are doing. So, with that, I want to say, my name is Sal Gonzalez. I'm a building inspector here for the city of Hemet. I take pride in performing my job here, you know, because I know I'm doing a service to the community, and that's something that the community relies on me. Joe has then now taken that responsibility and said, let me help Hemet the way, you know, I'm giving my service. I'm being here, probably, like I said, working, just, you know, trying to meet everyone. Malcolm, I've met you. How you doing? You need to come back and see us. Carly, I see you in the office all the time. Joe, you came up to me and said, how can we help you out? Over the past 8 years that I've been here, I have not seen no council member out on the streets showing support, saying, what do you guys need? How can we help you guys out? So I appreciate everything you're doing. You're not going anywhere. We're here with you. You stand by us. We're going to stand by you. On that note, you know, thank you for your support, and thank you for your service, sir. You are here to stay. We're right here with you.
Hope Rhodes, followed by Joseph Rhodes.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your time once again. I feel like I'm part of the furniture almost nowadays, but I just wanted to come up here and just share a little bit of my heart. Valerie spoke like perfect. Everything she said was just spot on, and I just wanted to say thank you all for your commitment to our city, your commitment to the people. And my main thing is I would like to invite you, the rest of the city council members, to come out with us on a Saturday morning. Even if you don't want to pick up trash, you can drive around and see what we're doing and be a part of your community, because it's so important that we are the hands and feet in our city. We can't give all the responsibility to you, because that would be wrong, because we live here. We cannot just complain about things and not also be a part of the solution. So it takes all of us in this room to show up and pick up trash, to reach after your neighbor, to love someone that is hurting, to do what you're called to do, and not just sit in your homes and wonder if the city council is just going to fix it all, because you're not fairies, you're people. And God appointed you for a purpose. And your purpose is to come alongside of the people, to be leaders, to show us how we can come alongside of you who are leading. And I am so grateful. I have seen a change in 6 months because I am one of the people that are out there, not because I deserve anything, but because I want to be a part of the solution and not continue to be a part of the problem. And since Joe has been out there, I see him, we've cleaned up a whole alley one morning together, but it's not even about the trash, it's about the people. Our goal to adopt a block in Hemet and to be his kingdom project is not to be about the trash. That's just a bonus. It's about reaching the sick and the broken and the lost people. So far in 5 or 6 months, we have pulled 3 single moms who are homeless off the streets and they're now in transitional living, and 7 men are now off dope, off heroin, in homes. And all it took was just us being out there and saying, we care enough about you. We're not going to give you money. We're picking up your trash, but you need to be picking up your own. If you're going to live in the streets, you need to respect the streets and pick up your trash. But it was about the people. It's about getting them so they can be productive citizens. I was homeless at 19. My husband was homeless, and we were in the streets. I didn't know him then, but it took me wanting to change. And we have to all come together and make a change. And I just pray that you guys will make the right decision. Like Valerie said, when you go home, it's between you and the Lord. So let's keep Joe in office, and you 5 work together. Because if you work together, our city can be totally transformed. I believe it, because the people will see what you're doing and they'll want to take more action. So thank you so much for your time tonight.
Joseph Rhodes, followed by Terry Larned.
Hey, I'm Joseph Rhodes, and Malcolm. I know they keep saying Joe and Carly, but you're there too. Hey, I want to ask Linda and Russ, you know, the last time I spoke, I felt like maybe I might have sounded really harsh. Anybody that knows me knows that sometimes I come off that way, and it's not intentional. It's just how I sound. I do want to tell you guys, listen, a wonderful job that you're all doing together. But you can do even a better job. You see, although that there are those people on your end that may support you and might raise funds to help you rerun and all that stuff, you know, you'll get a whole lot more done for them if you stick with what you need at the current moment. Because like these people are telling you, that if he gets voted out, he won by 57%. They're going to vote him back. And there's going to be and now that everybody knows, there's a lot of money in this town. People are willing to put up whatever. He's a good guy. He does a lot of hard work. I haven't known a whole lot of councilmen in my time, probably because we're in the trenches doing the work that most council people ain't willing to do. But he has. And it's amazing, because when you see that kind of dedication and effort, the veterans, what he's done for the vets, I mean, it's just not normally seen by normal people, you know. But this man's been coming out constantly, you know. If I dropped my cane in front of him, I'm certain he'd pick it up for me, you know. Whatever it is, he's been there, you know. And I know, Linda, you don't have too much, you know, left of your term, but if you guys could just look to the other side. I'm not real certain, because I haven't totally looked at it, but I understand that there's a word in there that it says the intent to live in that district, you know. I'm not certain. Somebody give me a nod if that was correct or not. Thank you. I thought it was. Your word intent is I have the intentions of doing that. Whether or not it's a few days or a few months or whatever the case may be, he won it, rightfully so. So I don't want to take up a bunch of your time, but guys, we really do, like all of us here in our city, we appreciate all that you're doing for your district, for our city, you know. We really do. And we'd like to keep on seeing you guys doing such a great work. All righty? Thank you. Let's keep Joe.
Terry Larned, followed by Donald Kay.
Council, thank you for having me up here again. I just want to start first, throw a plug for my church because we're doing a bluegrass gospel jam that's going to be starting on the 13th of June. It's a little break from everything. And it's on 200 Acacia, kitty corner from the post office. And if you were interested in performing bluegrass and bluegrass gospel, you can contact Terry Mack. Her phone number is on here. And it's going to be a great time. It's going to be from Sunday night from 7 till 9. So public is invited. The public is welcome. We're going to have a good time. That being said, let me get back to Isaiah 25, verse 1, which talks about faithfulness and truth. That's Joe Males. Now, I know a lot of members here have probably been approached by other members of the money community, asking them to, hey, if you do this or do that for me, hey, we'll get you some perks. And I know each one of them have been approached because it's come out. And a few of them have just said, hey, forget it. No. No way. Get lost. And a few of them haven't. We have to keep our transparency open, truthfulness. The people that we have here now, they're good people. They can do a lot for this city. I've seen a lot of changes. I've been here since 2010, and I've been coming to this valley since 1996 when my mom moved into Seven Hills, which is Joe's district. There's a lot of good that you guys are doing, and we need to have that continue. We don't want to have to spend an extra $100,000 on another election because it's going to be a waste of money. Because the election will be held, and Joe will win again, and it's a waste of our taxpayers' money and a waste of our energy when we could be directing that toward the city and doing the stuff that we need to have done in the city. And that's basically what I want to say. Thank you very much.
Next we have Donald Kay, followed by Patricia Abram.
Good evening, Council, Madam Mayor. You've seen me up here a couple times, but I'm a City of Hemet employee, 20 years. I work in sewer department and wastewater. So I've been here 20 years, been here a long time, and this is the best council I've seen since I've been here. And Joe's doing a great job. I see Joe out there. I see Carly out there. And to mess this up over a technicality, I mean, Joe cares. You all care, or you wouldn't be in the positions you're in. You're not going to run for council if you don't care. It's a big job. So if you all care, I don't know how you could break this up. You're hearing from everybody tonight saying what a great job you're doing. This is a super team. And I just don't understand on a technicality to break it up. Spend that money for a special election, and he's just going to get reelected. So why waste the money? I thank you all for our contract. It's been a long time coming, and I really appreciate the work you guys did with us and helping us. And I hope to work with you in the future, including Joe. And so just please keep this together. There's no reason to break this up. Thank you.
Patricia Abram, followed by Sarah Ilera.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Abram. I have been a resident of Hemet for over 11 years of my life. Although I may not know Joe Mills in a personal manner, I endorse him because of the steps that he is willing to take to better the place that I call home. I do not think someone who is trying to better the Hemet community should be taken out of a position that can benefit our life here. I personally think that keeping Joe in office will help Hemet grow as a collective community. Thank you.
Sarah Hilera, followed by Shauna Buck.
Hello everyone and good afternoon. My name is Sarah Lara and I'm a senior attending Newview Bridge Early College High School. I have lived in the Hemet area for as long as I remember. These past few months have been drastic change in our community. Doing some further looking and I have found out that it was Joe Mills. He was the one behind these positive changes and I've seen him help so many people, picking up the trash, feeding the homeless, and working hard to bring us all together. I'm glad to see that our city is being represented by someone who has honesty and integrity. To continue to do this, we need to keep Joe Mills in office. Speaking on behalf of the younger generation, we chose to keep Joe to represent and lead our community. Thank you.
Shauna Buck, followed by Alex Ilera.
Good afternoon. My name is Shauna Buck and I'm currently a student at Mount Sentinel Community College. While I don't personally know Joe Mills, I've heard good things about him. Reading the Hemet news and posts on Facebook, I've learned that Joe Mills is indeed a good man. I've seen countless videos and comments showing him doing good deeds and helping the community. One video in particular that touched my heart was a woman that showed Joe cleaning up an alley. He was by himself and expected no one to see him. He is humble and a genuine person. As a young college student, I believe that Joe Mills is a good man and will better our community. I hope that we can keep Joe in office.
Alex Ilera, followed by George Acosta Sr.
Good evening. My name is Alex Valera, and I've been a Hemet resident for the last 17 years. I am currently attending Cal State San Marcos, and I'm here tonight because I want to show support for Mr. Joe Mills, because he is a man of God and has done many good deeds. Speaking on behalf of our community, we trust him because he works very hard to support the community, and he's a genuine man. In a short period of time, he has shown to the community that he wants things to change for the better, and by getting things done, from helping people in need to cleaning our streets. Joe proudly served our country for many years, and he is caring and a humble man that finishes and what is asked of him. He is always there for our homeless and lends a helpful hand. I'm only 19 years old, but I've been in the community for 17 years, and he is better thanks to all the hard work he has done and for bringing our community back together.
Just continue, it's fine. Are you done? Yeah. You can continue.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening.
George Acosta Sr.
Lady Mayor and Council. My name is George Acosta Sr. First start, I've known him 50 years, give or take a few years, I don't know. We grew up together and we talked a lot. When he told me he was going to run for city council, we talked about that. And I told him to be careful because they're going to come up with some kind of petty thing against you if you win. Wow, I was a prophet, man. Ask him. I'm not making this up. It's happening. You people out there need to remember something. See them? That's your boss. You're not the boss. They're the boss. They elected you to do a job for them. They want to see people out there walking around with them, talking to them. I've been coming to this community for since the late 70s, working, watching this community grow. I used to work out here in a lot of companies, working on equipment out here. I saw fields coming up to neighborhoods. The only thing I saw not being done is not being cleaned up is gangs, which he wants to do. He wants to clean up the core of this community so he can attract business for employment for some of these people. You can't do it by just sitting there talking about it. You gotta get off. Go do it. Walk around.
The following conference commands are available to the organizer. To hear this help message, press star 1. To mute or unmute your line, press star 2. To hear your participant count, press star 5. To lock or unlock the conference, press star 6. To start or stop a conference recording, press star 7. To mute or unmute all lines except for the organizers, press star 8. To control entry and exit tones, press pound or hash sign followed by 1. To change allow continue options, press pound or hash sign followed by 2. To report an audio issue by setting a 60-second recording for analysis, press star 09.
And we argue about that a lot. But it's cool. We still love each other, you know? I'll tell you something right now. Community loves them. The American Legion loves them. He took an American Legion pose that was going into the hole. Him and a few other people are thriving now. He's a true leader. He showed it to the military. He received a sergeant's stripes immediately. Took me a long time, but I got him. But, you know, it's petty. If you guys can't see what's going on in those streets, cleaning it up, there's something wrong with you guys. Something's wrong when you want to tear apart a council. If you need to think about what's going on, petty stuff needs to go out the door, out the window, really. And I'll help you do that. But you people need to wake up. Things are getting done. He wants to bring employment to the people. This gentleman here, I hear a lot of good things. I know Cardi. Russ, we want you out there too. We want you to see you back in the American Legion. The rest of you, I don't know who you are. But I'm just putting it out there. People don't like me sometimes because they say, George, you say too many things. You say things that people don't want to hear, but I don't care. I say things that I see what's going on. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, do we have anyone on the teleconference line that would like to speak regarding items not on the agenda?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If there's anyone on the teleconference line, now is the time to unmute yourself. And because there's a delay, we'll give you a chance to unmute yourself and speak. I'm seeing Lee Wong. Unmute yourself. Lee, can you hear us?
Yeah, this is Lee Wong.
Thank you, Lee.
I'm from Westchester, Ohio.
You'll have 3 minutes to speak during public comment, and your speaking time is going to start now.
John?
Well, I'm just
John, he's on for me.
Oh, he is. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just hang tight. We're gonna have you hold on for 1 minute. Is there anyone else that wants to speak during teleconference? Seeing no one, there's no teleconference public comment.
Okay. Next, if we have anyone here to speak on items that are on the agenda, I don't believe I have any speaker clips for that.
No public comment.
Okay, and then none on teleconference, no email, they're all, okay. All right, excellent. Okay, item number 12, we're going to move on to presentations. Councilmember Lilienthal.
Did she submit one?
We'll do one more public comment here.
Distinguished council members, my name is Gina Estrin, and I'm appalled at the court system sided with the opposition and requested that Joe Males be removed from his office this Friday, May 27th, due to a technicality which I personally view as a flaw in the Hemet ordinance for filing for an elected seat to the city council. I hope you reappoint Joe Males and save Hemet money, not by not having to hold another election to fill his seat, but to reappoint him. I know that Hemet copiers are already short due to COVID and many other reasons, and to cost Hemet the added cost of having an election is not fair to the city nor the citizens of the city. I do have to qualify myself. I am not a member of Hemet. I live in San Jacinto. But many of you know that I have been working very hard in the past year and a half to try and bring the cities of Hemet and San Jacinto together in a consensus to try and take care of issues that affect both our cities. Because a fine line on let's say, the road of Esplanade is no way to work out the kinds of issues that both our cities are facing. Now, as to why this happened in the first place, part of Mr. Mail's issue of untimely filing had to do with finalizing the paperwork on his home rental. I do not know if the court questioned the person who rented the property to Mr. Mails and his family, but I understood that Mr. Mail said during his interview at his home with Eddie George recently, he and his future landlord had a binding, understanding, and verbal agreement that Mr. Mails would be given the rental for sure as a backup to her verbal agreement to someone who saw the rental first. She had made him a promise that if he came back on a certain date to fill out the paperwork, of course, that gentleman would have had the rental. And an agreement with Joe Mails was binding to her because she honored and waited for the other gentleman. So her word was valid. And the moment that the person did not show up on the day he was supposed to, she contacted Mr. Mails and they proceeded to come to an agreement, to write up an agreement. She was a woman of her word, so as a person, with integrity, when the first person did not show up to actually fill out the paperwork, Mr. Mails signed the paperwork for the lease based on their verbal and legal, and from what I understand, I know I'm not a lawyer, and legally binding agreement. She could have testified in court to this verbal agreement. It meant Mr. Mails did indeed properly pull the paperwork in a timely manner as he was to be renting in the district. Now, Mr. Mails was in final negotiations with the restaurant for his specific district when he pulled the application, and according to your rules, the pulling of the application is the date at which the application commences. And he did so in order for him to have all the instructions to properly fill the quotas that needed to get him on the ballot.
If you could email that in, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah,
so that you can...
Just one final little note as I was sitting here. Okay. Based on the Hemet Town Hall meeting last Thursday night, your constituents all voiced that they want to continue the work the current council members have started in the past 6 months, and voiced that here, and voiced their endorsement of Joe Mails and the work he's done. Please, I ask for 3 things. Please keep Joe on the council, because I know he's been very friendly to the goals that I know a lot of the people talk about homelessness and so forth. He's very pro that, as well as Malcolm and Carly. And please, fix the city's elections qualifying process so this doesn't happen again. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy, it's a waste of resources. And if you do decide to follow up with having the election, please sue the people that caused this to happen because of the cost to the city. And it's not fair. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 12, presentations. Councilmember Lilienthal.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, so I have online right now a Mr. Lee Wong, and I also wanted another individual here, but he was stuck doing some business down in LA, Mr. Simon Chu. But I wanted to make a proclamation to the Asian American and Pacific Islander community, stating how the city, backs everything that they're going through. In particular, Mr. Lee Wong, if you guys aren't familiar, I saw I thought it was really nice to reach out to him. I didn't think I'd get a hold of him, but I thought it'd be because he's down in Ohio, and so it's probably 10 o'clock where he is. But the thing about it is I saw a video of him sitting at the dais, I believe a board of trustees of a township, and he talked about being a veteran in the United States, and he stood up, and the video shows him like undressing his shirt, and you see all the scars from being in war. And he's of Asian descent, and he asked the community, is this patriot enough for you? And I thought that was very moving, to hear someone really to stand up for what they've done for America, and then how our veterans, whatever background they come from and how they're treated. Me personally, I cried one day because I thought about all the people who came back from service, from war and things like that, and I thought about how us as Americans can do better. They went to war for us, guys. And we're here sitting privileged, doing all kinds of things that we can do with our freedoms. The fact that we can argue whatever we can argue is because people went out and fought for us, for our freedom, so that we had the freedom of religion, the freedom to speak responsibly, and so when he stood up and talked about, what he did for the country and things like that, it was very moving. I don't know if you guys seen the Facebook video, but you could look him up, Lee Wong, so Leewong. Can you hear me, Mr. Wong?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
So.
Yes, I can.
Whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander heritage in the United States was celebrated beginning in 1978 and was made into a month-long event in 1992, and whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month seeks to honor and recognize the contributions of residents from Asia, India, and the Pacific Islands, and whereas Native Hawaiians, Chinese, and Japanese were the first among to migrate to the Pacific Northwest and were known for handling canoes and goods, construction, and railroad expansion, and whereas Asian/Pacific encompasses all of the Asian continent and the Pacific Islands of Melanesia, New Guinea, New Caledonia, Vanuatu, I don't know if I'm saying these right, Fiji and the Solomon Islands, Micronesia, Marianas, Guam, I have lots of friends from Guam, Wake Island, Palau, because I'm from Oceanside, Marshall Islands, Nauru, and the Federated States of Micronesia and Polynesia, New Zealand, Hawaiian Islands, Rotuma, Midway Islands, Samoa, American Samoa, Tonga. Almost married into that family, but my brother passed away. Cook Islands, French Polynesia, and Eastern Island, and whereas during Asian American and Pacific Islander, which short is AAPI, Heritage Month, we acknowledge Asian and Pacific Islanders have lived and worked, in Oregon for more than 200 years, contributing to Oregon's and the United States economy, and whereas other places in the United States, culture, education, politics, arts, literature, science, and technological developments, despite institutional and systemic injustices, designed to prevent and limit these achievements and contributions, and whereas during the AAPI Heritage Month, we acknowledge the additional determination, hard work, and perseverance AAPI must put forth to be heard and seen, and that these additional efforts are a result of inequitable institutional and systemic injustices. And whereas despite these contributions and leadership, the role of AAPI in United States history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history, and whereas we cannot deny the unique challenges and complicated, sometimes violent histories of peoples, nations, and empires across Asia and the Pacific, but we can commit to working together to strengthen our community for the future. Therefore, all of us, along with all of us, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2021 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Mr. Lee Wong, would you like to say something for a couple of minutes?
Yes, thank you very much. I want to say that my message is very clear. Today is to have the courage to do the right thing and keep standing up for the high ideas in America. Greatness is in our DNA. I know we all look at our nation through the prism of our own experiences. Sometimes, particularly when that experience involves brutality, repression, racism, and maltreatment, it is difficult to look at the big picture. I know this from personal and painful experiences. I say to you, who are leaders in communities across our nation, who have formed an alliance against hate, America does not have any problems that more kindness, more love, more respect for each other, and more gentleness cannot solve. We can join together and weave a strong fabric of freedom that vibrantly displays the goodness that lies inside the soul of America. Asian Americans contribute to America's greatness. It is up to each of us to become more self-aware in valuing our differences, to be inclusive in order to build a better America. Like the poet Sarah King said, "Are you greater than the sun that shines on everyone, black, brown, yellow, red, and white? The sun does not discriminate. We are all, we are masters of our own fate. We will continue to grow strong, staying firm in a bond with each other to keep the faith that together we can do anything. We are Americans, blessed to live in one of the greatest nations on earth. God bless you and America." Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee Wong.
Thank you, sir.
The next proclamation is going to our lovely Public Works. So, whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives and would not be provided without the dedicated efforts of the public works professionals whose service the city of Hemet, and whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water treatment, sewer collection, storm drain, utility, road maintenance, parks, public buildings and facilities, and fleet services. And whereas it is in the public interest to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2021 marks the 61st annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. And therefore, all of us at the dais do hereby proclaim the week of May 16 2021. Well, okay, I see it. May 16th through the 22nd as National Public Works Week. Further, we urge all citizens of the City of Hemet to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life.
Great, thank you very much. Next, item 13, public hearing. First, we will hear from staff on item 13A.
Mayor, I believe we are requesting the hearing that's listed on the agenda to be continued to the date that's listed on the agenda, Mayor.
Okay. All right, we will continue this to June 8th, 2021. So come back for that. Item number 14, consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are voted on by one action of the City Council unless anyone requests to pull an item for individual discussion. Does anyone like to pull an item tonight? All right.
Yes, I'm sorry.
You want one? Okay.
14C and 14F.
All right, we have 14C and 14F. Do we have a motion for A, B, D, and E?
Can I make a comment before the motion? So on 14B, I think this is a wonderful idea when it comes to the Hemet Police Department, because from what I understand, and I could be wrong, that if this position is given to a civilian, then it relieves officers of this duty so that they could work more on proactive things. And so I think this is a really good idea. So I love 14B. Another... Okay, so I'll just pull it then.
Okay. And another one?
And then 14D...
We'll pull 14D also. D. So we need approval for item 14A and E. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. A roll call vote.
Motion by Councilmember Brown, second by Councilmember Lilienthal. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa? Yes. Councilmember Lilienthal?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mayor? Yes. Mayor Meyer?
Yes.
That motion passes to approve the consent calendar with the removal of items 14B, 14C, 14D, and 14F for separate vote. Thank you.
Right, 14B. Councilmember Lilienthal, do you want to finish your comments on that?
Well, it was just about, okay, so instead of the police officers working on, like their with social media platform, they get to go out and do more proactive work in the city and making sure that the people in the city are taken care of. And so giving this to a regular citizen, not saying that it would be like a regular person, but just a civilian, makes more sense fiscally because, well, not fiscally, but more like as far as public safety is concerned. Does that make sense? So that's why I really liked this that was brought forth. That's why I wanted to talk about it.
Motion to approve that?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve 14B.
Second.
It's a tie. I'll second that. Okay.
Motion by Councilmember Lilienthal, second by Councilmember Krupa. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa? Yes. Councilmember Lilienthal?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mills? Yes. Mayor Meyer?
Yes.
That motion passes to approve item 14B.
Excellent. Then we have item 14C.
Yes, thank you for that.
OHB.
My question on this, since it is where am I at here? I'm on a progress report. I'm just curious as to if we are going to be getting, as a council, a full work study report on this. I quite honestly didn't get through all, however, 200, 300 pages of it to see and to be able to compare to what it was before. So if I could request that from staff before it's finalized. And my second question on this is this the report that will have to go to HCD for approval and then come back to us for approval, or do we not? I mean, it's a progress report, which means it's not final, but does it not need to be finalized with consent from council prior to going to HCD, or only after they've put their stamp of approval on it?
No, So, Madam Mayor, members of the council, this item, we do have a small presentation for you. We can do that for you tonight.
Okay.
But this item just requires you as an updated report to you, and you guys just make an action stating that this is the report that we would like to submit to HCD.
Okay.
So I have our principal planner, Monique Alanis Flater. She will make the presentation for you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, and the public. I'm Monique Alanis Flater. This is the General Plan Progress Report for 2012 to 2020.
Can I interrupt for just a minute?
Yes,
Can you either take your mask off or talk a little bit louder? You're very, very muffled and have a
Pull that mic
closer to.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you. This is the General Plan Progress Report for 2012 to 2020. Every city and county in California is required to have an adopted general plan to guide the long-term development of the community, prepared in accordance with detailed statutory requirements. The city of Hemet contains 10 general plan chapters in our general plan, and the goal is to provide policy guidance that maintains the community's vision for the future. Those general plan documents are land use, community design, circulation, community services and infrastructure, public safety, open space and conservation, recreation and trails, historic resources, art and culture, and our housing element. The state law requires that the cities submit an annual progress report on the general plan to the City Council and to the Governor's Office of Planning and Research and the Housing and Community Development Department. The main purpose of this periodic review is to evaluate the city's progress in meeting its general plan vision for the city, and it also allows the council an opportunity to adjust or modify its policies or approach to ensure city meets its stated goals. While the city has been submitting the housing element progress report annually to the Housing and Community Development Department, this is the second comprehensive review of the city's progress in implementing its general plan since 2019. The general plan progress report that was presented before you, the components are structured to present the following information. The first is to amend the general plan, and any general plan amendments that have been adopted since we have adopted the general plan in 2012. Any required or proposed amendments going forward that needs to be prepared within the next year. This report Also comprises of demographic and development changes that update the city's community profile. Also, it includes a snapshot of housing production and annual report status to housing community development, and includes a general plan implementation progress programs that have been completed, are in progress, or are on a continuous basis. Also, the general plan implementation programs that have not been initiated but are recommended for initiation within the next few years. With regards to our housing production, state law requires that each jurisdiction in California include a housing element in its general plan that establishes specific plans, objectives, and timelines for meeting the state-mandated regional housing needs assessment, also referred to as RHNA, for each income level. The RHNA is provided to jurisdictions in an 8-year cycle. We are currently in the 5th cycle, and we will be moving forward with the housing element update for the 6th cycle this year for the periods of 2021 to 2029. So our current cycle that we're in, 5, covers the periods of 2013 through 2021. And every year the city prepares an annual report to HCD. We submit that report, and it provides them a snapshot and data that they've requested on our housing production. So this reflects our housing production for the past, since 2013. We have constructed 647 units in various income categories. The total RHNA for the city was 604 units. However, those are broken down into various income categories of very low, moderate, and above moderate income. We did construct 647 units. However, not all of those units were in the low income category or the very low. In that case, the remaining RHNA that's provided for the city, or the remaining, is 281 units of unmet need for the housing. However, we are providing those reports to the state, and that is the information that comes out of the annual report on April 1st. In 2021, there are at least 3 general plan amendments that need to be prepared for consideration by the City Council pursuant to state law. And the city is actively working with a consultant to prepare these updates, which must be adopted by October of 2021. And that includes the addition of an environmental justice element, an amendment or update to the public safety element, and then an update to the city's housing element. As recommended by the Planning Commission, and also as approved by the City Council in 2019, some of these recommendations are carryover. There are a few additional recommendations. It is recommended that that the focus be on economic development, a strategy and marketing plan, sustainable tourism, business outreach and retention program, as funding is available, a marketing plan for the city, also citywide design and landscape design guidelines, update of development impact fees, review of the Quimby Park fees on an annual basis, and also a focus on bike paths and trail systems. That it is recommended that the City Council adopt the resolution approving the 2012 to 2020 General Plan Progress Report and direct staff to submit the report to the Governor's Office of Planning and Research and the State Department of Housing and Community Development. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer questions for you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. The question in this update, the 6th cycle of RHNA is not not included in this. Is that correct? And that goes in the next one? Did we receive any grant funding to get this one filed, or is that just for the 6th cycle for Rita? One.
So the 6th cycle is not included in this report because it's a start of the 2021 year to 2029. So that's not included. The funding that we receive as a LEAP grant is part of the 6th cycle component, updating the general plan for the housing, safety, as well as the environmental justice component.
Okay, thank you. You answered my questions. Appreciate that. All right. Well, thank you for this detailed report. I do enjoy some of the stats in here in this profile update. So, do we have a motion or? Yes, and I would move approval of 14C for the general plan progress report and suggest to our council members that they read it in detail, because this is important. This is where how our city goes forward in building and progress and in economic development, and it really should be mandatory reading for all of us. So thank you again for the presentation and that update, and yes, I would move approval of this item. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joe. Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion by Councilmember Krupa, second by Mayor Pro Tem Mills. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowenthal?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mills?
Yes.
Mayor Meyer?
Yes.
That motion passes to approve the item.
Okay, item 14D. That was Malcolm's.
So I only wanted to make a comment on it. So this is a resolution identifying the fee credit for park and recreation fee for vesting tentative track maps. And so there's a bunch of maps and stuff in there. But from what I understand, what happens is there's a credit that's going to be, we're going to be able to use. So even though there's a credit applied, the remaining fee could be used to enhance future parks. So I really love, this is something I just wanted to kind of highlight.
Definitely. Thank you. That's excellent.
So let's make a motion to approve 14D.
All right, we have a motion.
Can I make a comment before
Yes, please.
I second this? It's not, is this for all parks going forward or just for this particular area of Tres Cerritos?
Okay, Councilmember, this item is only applied to vested track map 31513, the Tres Cerritos component. So they're required to pay a certain amount of money for each of the development units that come forward in development. 177 lots, but because they're building a portion of that into a park system already, that we're giving a credit for that portion. So remainder we'll still collect, and that money will go towards building additional parks and so forth. But we're only giving credit for a portion of their development.
Thank you, and I think that was one of the questions I ran by the city manager today and got that answered, and appreciate it, because a development that large definitely needs more than a 1.2 acre park. So, thank you.
All right, we have a motion. Now, do we have a second?
And I'll second that.
Great. Can we have a roll call vote?
Motion by Councilmember Lowenthal, second by Councilmember Krupa. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowenthal?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mills?
Yes.
Mayor Meyer?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0 to pass the item 14D.
Excellent. Then we have 14F.
This will be really, really quick. Steve, on this, since this is the SB1 funding, the RM, whatever it's called, all of that funding that we're paying for with our gas tax, when do we receive this funding each year?
It's part of the technology that I'm working with. Sorry. We do get payments monthly based on the information that I've received from RMRA. I've confirmed that with Ms. Lorena Roca as well, that they provide this information monthly. Payments to the cities monthly, I should say.
So do we get any estimate before we get the payment so that we can plan going forward, like for next year? Are we going to get 1.6 million or 800,000 or something like that?
They do give us the estimate, but it's not like Measure A where it's 5 years out. I think it's only 2 years out, and I didn't have that number for the second year. But it has slowly been increasing since 2017 when it first was implemented. But I could get that number that is planned for the future years, and I could pass that along.
If you would, I'd really appreciate that. And on this, I also appreciate the fact that you're doing a neighborhood, because there are many streets in this town that need a lot of loving care, but there's also complete neighborhoods that need to be done, and they should not be piecemeal. They should just be done as a neighborhood. So I appreciate that, because one of the next ones is going to be in my district. Awesome. And Carly's got one too. So yeah, it would just be nice to know kind of in how much we're getting, what if they can give us estimates, or if it's all in arrears and nobody in Sacramento knows. And I put my money on that one.
Well, actually, in the past, I think it was the League of California Cities, their finance department was actually what was estimating it. But not to worry, I will find the information and I will pass it through the city manager so that way you can get that as soon as
Thank you.
I find it.
I really appreciate that. And if no one else has any questions, I would move approval of item 14F.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? I always forget to ask you that. All right, seeing we have none, can we have a roll call vote?
Motion by Councilmember Krupa, second by Councilmember Lowenthal. Councilmember Brown?
Yes, the motion seconded by Russ.
Russ. The second was by Russ.
Excuse me.
Brown.
Motion by Councilmember Krupa, second by Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowenthal?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Males?
Yes.
Mayor Meyer?
Yes.
That motion passes to approve staff recommendation for 14F.
Excellent, thank you. All right, moving on to 15, discussion action items. We have 15A. We have a highlight reel of the accomplishments in Hemet.
Yes, so we have Ty from IT who's queuing up the video. We've started, 5 months ago now, providing just brief snippets of what's going on in the community that highlight the good work that's going on. And so this is the most recent highlight reel that we have for the community.
Thank you. That was great. Love to see that. Item 15D, our coronavirus update.
Yes, Mayor. You'll notice that the updates are included in the agenda. One of the items is obviously we had a relocation of the COVID testing site from the library, as well as I believe the county is still working through an item or to get a vaccine clinic over at the old Sears building. There has been a trend of moving towards more mobile vaccination clinics versus standalone locations. So that is the update that I have for the council, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 15C. We have on here the consideration of authorizing a letter of opposition for Senate Bill 9, housing development approvals. So were you guys able to go through that? And does anybody have any comments or questions? Yeah, this was very thorough, and I appreciate this. I don't think we
Yeah,
had.
I just want to thank staff for being so efficient and prompt in getting this out. And I know that Cal Cities will appreciate our support as well.
And I would also like to add that so the presentation earlier talked about HCD and their progress, how the city has to provide a progress report. If I believe if this SB 9 is passed, then we'll be forced. It'll be something like where we'll be forced, where all our single-family streets will be forced to give up their zones with single-family into like not to allow like duplexes, but to allow construction of 4, 6, or 8 units of density where one home now stands. And so 4-unit and 6-unit projects would be allowed by right with no input from us. And so we'd be forced to go through all of that. So an 8-unit project provides like some leeway to cities to say no, case by case. But like SB 9 seems like a gift to all of our rental giants, you know, to overrun all the homeowner areas. And so we'd like to keep the city of Hemet more suburban and not turn it into like a Chicago or like New York or, you know, a high density kind of place like that. And so that's why I'm really in support for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I just want to emphasize too that by opposing this, it's a strong statement that we emphasize the value of local control, and we don't really need an absentee landlord in Sacramento telling us what to do here in Hemet.
And thanks, Russ, for bringing this to our attention and getting this on here. So, all right, do we have a motion?
Move approval.
And a second.
Motion by Councilmember Brown, second by Councilmember Lowenthal. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowenthal?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mills?
Yes.
Mayor Meyer?
Yes.
That motion passes to approve staff recommendation.
Next is item 15D, and this is the consideration of authorization of a letter of opposition for Assembly Bill 215. So again, this was quick turnaround, but I really like the thorough staff report. So any comments or questions?
Again, just a big thank you to staff for jumping on this and doing such a thorough job. And if there's no other comments, I'll move approval.
All right, we have a motion.
And I'll
Do we have a
second.
second? Okay, a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote?
Motion by Councilmember Brown, second by Councilmember Lowenthal. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowenthal?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mills?
Yes.
Mayor Meyer?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0 to approve staff recommendation.
Great. Then, last but not least, we have item 15E, our fiscal year 2021 budget preview, priorities, strategic plan, community feedback, all of the above update. Which I would like to thank you, city manager, and the staff that was involved in putting together that town hall so quick. The success was huge, 60 to 70 people there attending, and then about 20 people on the Zoom call. So please tell staff thank you, and we'll have to keep that up.
Brenda sent me a message today saying how helpful John Paul was, Brandon, and then Kathy, because everyone really came together to make that happen. So the kudos goes all to them. I do have a funny story to tell. While they were preparing for that, the Zoom part of the meeting, I was on another Zoom call earlier in the day, and I kept getting kicked out of my Zoom meeting because they were testing everything out at the library, and I didn't know what was going on until I put it together that they were testing it. So you can't host 2 meetings at the same time. I learned the hard way. Okay, so thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the council for setting that up. It was the direction from the council to set that community session up. So today I'm here to provide an update on the fiscal year 21-22 budget, priorities, strategic plan, and community feedback update. So some of these slides are continued from the previous meeting. So on January 29th, the mayor and council held a special meeting to discuss priorities of the city. Council held a follow-up discussion on February 26, 2021 to finalize the goals for the city in terms of a context and overall programmatic approach. Since then, our office has taken the lead in planning for the fiscal year 21-22 budget, which will be a program-based budget, and you did see some of the previews of the images of the upcoming budget that we will provide to the council in the next couple of weeks. Based on the discussion that council held a few months ago, 5 overarching priority goals emerged. Those include quality of life, economic opportunity, partnering and collaboration, community engagement, and then organizational effectiveness. You'll note that some of these are internal to the organization and some of them are external in terms of the visual items that the public does see. I wanted to take a brief moment to talk about some of the items that were brought up at the discussion. I think we had 11 boards that were filled up at the meeting, and I took snapshots of them, and I've included a few of them here. I will send a picture of all these items to the council so that you can see the items that the public wrote out. For those that didn't attend it or couldn't make it, the exercise included having individuals sit together in tables and basically answer questions about what they envisioned the 5 overarching priority goals to be and what types of items that they would expect to see in some sort of action plan by the city. So based on the conversations and the dialogue that were held by the members at the tables, they then jotted down the items that they would like to see in the community. And so now we have the boards that are in our possession, and we can see the direct feedback that we received from the members of the community. Based on the review of the items, there were some key takeaways and key themes that emerged from those discussions. I think the first one that was hit on by the overarching number of people that attended was the homelessness issue in the community, a desire to see community cleanups in the community, wanting to enhance code compliance efforts in the community, various comments or discussions related to parks, including cleaning them up. There was a continued or a desire to have continued community engagement with the community, and that was a theme that was provided across all of the groups. And then finally, discussions related around infrastructure, including roadways, city facilities, including parks, including council chambers, as well as business systems. And the one that really stands out in my mind is the telephone system. Our telephone system is very antiquated. It doesn't allow for the queuing system that we would like. I'm sure everyone knows, you go into your office, you see that phone, and it looks like it's from, the late 80s, early 90s. So everybody's familiar with that. And maybe I'm being generous with that time period. So this year's budget process began with a running start based on the council discussions that were hosted earlier this year. As I mentioned at the last meeting, this will be a program-based budget, which will allow for information to be gathered around the city's programs and services. Over the weekend, I provided a snapshot of some of those programs and services, including Traffic Bureau, the K-9 program in the police department, code compliance and community development, and then community engagement within the city manager's office. So the budget will show the costs of a specific program, and a method to evaluate the program's effectiveness and outputs through performance metrics. Organizing information in this manner, we think, instead of at a departmental level, which the council has been accustomed to seeing, we think will provide the council and the community a clearer and more transparent picture of how much money is being spent on each program delivered to our community. So if the council wanted to have a conversation about, well, let's talk about enhancing a program, the Traffic Bureau and the Police Department, the ROCKS program, what would that look like in terms of a cost allocation? So that's what we hope to provide to the council in the next couple of weeks. So now let's get into just some overarching themes or overarching items with respect to the fiscal year 21-22 budget. The budget is balanced. There are no reductions in the budget. As a matter of fact, you will see a number of new programs, a number of new expenditures included in the upcoming fiscal year 21-22 budget. There is an additional allocation of personnel for the ROCKS team, and that really dovetails with what we heard at the community outreach meetings, as well as the input that the council initially provided in terms of the overarching priority goals. We have included about 20 part-time individuals to that, so that we can ensure that we have 7-day-a-week coverage, Monday through Monday, 7 days a week. We have included also personnel in the police department to oversee those personnel to ensure that they are adequately supervised on the weekend. We have included the funding for 2 community cleanups. This was another item that came up during the community session. It was something that was identified by the council initially as well, so there was very much alignment on this item. We've included that funding in the upcoming budget. I should also note that we had a community cleanup just about, I'd say, 4 weeks ago, largely successful, a significant amount of trash that was collected at that event. Increases for the impacted bargaining groups, including SCIU, HMMA, as well as HFFA, have been programmed into the budget. You will recall that HFFA did defer their 6% increase over at least 2 years to ensure that the increase that they were due did not hit in the middle of the pandemic year that we've been going through. And then at our next meeting, we'll talk about the specific economic recovery that we're seeing in the city of Hemet. We are seeing a economic recovery in the city of Hemet, which is going to bear some good news for the community, which we are very excited to get into the details just not too far away from now. Again, some more of these highlights as I included here, the additional personnel for ROCKS, the community cleanups. We have added 1 additional FTE in parks. We identified an innovative way to fund this parks employee. We do have a park that is a storm drain facility, so we've been able to allocate the appropriate staff to ensure that from the storm drain perspective that facility is being maintained properly. We do have one new program that's, we have multiple new programs, but one of them that we're particularly, we believe, hitting on what the council identified before is the housing function in the city. So we believe that housing, the housing program within community development and having its own personnel and staff associated with it would help achieve some of the issues or some of the overarching goals that the council did identify. Included also in the budget is the upstaffing of Engine 5 to a full engine. We have also included the funding for city employee recognition events. Over the last couple of years, we've put together funding from various sources to provide, whether it was an in-and-out truck, to help highlight, promote the good work that our employees do day in and day out. We've allocated a specific amount of money to ensure that we have some of these events on a go-forward basis. I think the council also talked about this at a previous discussion, whether it's highlighting anniversaries, just highlighting those employees that go above and beyond. This is what we're talking about when we have these employee recognition events. We have included funding for overtime for Station 1 for a medic squad. And so we have included some funding to ensure that the personnel that we have to respond to the calls that we have that really create downstream impacts to our fire response, that we've included some funding in the fire department for that. Additionally, what we are seeing is a significant amount of work that gets generated specifically from public safety. And so we've included the funding for a HR analyst solely to deal with whether it's public safety recruitments, whether it's public safety requests, whether it's changes of job descriptions. We're finding that HR is spending a lot of time on public safety, largely as a result of the good work that's been happening in public safety over the last couple of years. It is something that was talked about previously in a previous budget, but this year we've actually added that into the budget. And then finally, you will see a new format in how the budget is rolled out and laid out to the council. So that is something that is new for this year's budget. So I did provide a little bit of a synopsis. Much of the information that I provided here, I provided in an email over the weekend. I'm seeking some direction on some of these items because they are key themes that came out of the community workshop, but they are also items that have been discussed previously in previous council priority sessions. These items include homelessness. So as it stands now, we haven't specifically allocated centralized funding to deal with the homelessness challenge. We do have public safety that does respond to homelessness, whether it's calls for service or a request for help, but we haven't centrally located this program. I did mention too that it does make sense that if this is something that the council wishes to allocate funding to, that this should be centralized and it should be housed within a department to ensure that there's a liaison that can centralize all those efforts versus having them piecemealed or just put together in a kind of disconnected manner. I know that we've had some conversations with some of our neighbors, and that is something that is a key theme that's been talked about, and I think it's one of the big lessons learned that has been learned across multiple agencies. And I think the League has touched on that item as well. We have been discussing, we have a proposal from a contractor that's currently under contract with the JPIA. One thing that did come out of the discussions, not only with the community on Thursday, but also with the council previously, is really looking at the infrastructure. And so we've also know that when our infrastructure isn't up to date, that does create potential liabilities and issues for the city. And so we've identified a program that has been put together that currently isn't funded this year, but we would like to allocate some funding to slowly and methodically go through and make repairs throughout the community to deal with some of the sidewalk challenges that we have. And speaking of the JPIA, they believe that this is a program that would provide some long-term benefit, not only to improve the appearance of the community, but also deal with some of the risks and liabilities associated with this specific item. I would like to replace the telephone system. It is something that, based on the antiquated system that we have, doesn't allow us to make the changes that we need to. When we did have to transition to virtual work, this was a challenge that came up. So I would like to see if the council is interested in allocating some funding to replace that system. One thing I did also mention is that as we continue to move forward, similar to the item we talked about with homelessness, I would like to see if the council is interested in allocating any sort of funding to a PR or a communications firm to help with getting the message out about the work that's going on in the community, whether it's development, whether it's public safety, fill in the blank. As I mentioned earlier, centralizing that in terms of having a point person that can work with the staff across all departments that can really be tasked with taking that on would help, in my view, deal with some of the communication strategies on a go-forward basis for the city of Hemet. And then finally, we have included a level of cannabis services in the budget based on how that application process moves forward, the interest that we may get from potential applicants. We may need to refine that contract to allocate the specific amount of funding necessary to do the work that's required as of that, or as a result of those being implemented. But that's just to get on your radar. I don't have an accurate dollar amount of what that might be. It's really dependent upon what the application process is like on a go-forward basis. That's the last slide that I have, so happy to answer any questions, but primarily get some direction, feedback on the items that aren't included in the budget but have been identified as priorities by the council as well as the community. So thank you, Mayor.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead.
The 20-plus ROCS employees that are going to be part-time, is that like working 4 days or 3 days, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, so actually PD and Public Works are working through that. We've also identified that there is certain work that would need to happen in some of our parks, including graffiti removal at the parks, and so they would need to coordinate collectively on what operation might work out, but it will be a combination of, 10 individuals working, Monday through Thursday on a limited basis, and then the rest working, Friday through Sunday. It hasn't been hammered out, but that's the plan. Split them up.
And what about a person to bring business in? I see the PR person, but we need somebody that brings business into the city.
So I'm going to be brutally honest with the council. Development in the city is going through the roof. It's a great time to be in the city of Hemet. I can't tell you how many times HP and I are meeting with new businesses that want to come in, and we're rolling out the red carpet. The challenge that we have is we don't have the staffing in community development to provide the level of service that we would like to ensure that they get through the process. So what I envision is I would really prefer to look at, what would be best to enhance the level of service in community development, because that's really where operationally the biggest challenge is. Our team does a great job, but it's really about the volume of work that we have that's coming through. I would maybe want to look at how we can, do both of those items.
Russ.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple comments. We have a newly constituted infrastructure commission with some very enthusiastic members on that commission, and I would urge and recommend that any of these items, particularly the sidewalk repair endeavor, that we make use of the infrastructure commission wherever and whenever possible to funnel those kinds of things through the commission. First of all, I always worry about having good people essentially doing volunteer work, and I've used the phrase all hop to trot with no place to race. So I think it's important that we utilize the commissions and the knowledge base and skill set of the people that are serving as commissioners whenever and wherever possible. So I think that would be my recommendation, is things like the sidewalk repair project and maybe even the telephone system to some small degree. I know that's very specialized. I had an opportunity, and don't ask me how I ended up with it, but I ended up being the project manager for a citywide telecommunications project where I used to work, and I had no real expertise in that field, so I had to learn a lot on the fly. So I recognize just how sophisticated those systems are, and they're light years ahead of what they were back when I was dealing with that. But it might be something that the Infrastructure Commission could review proposals or help review proposals. So there's just a couple of thoughts right off the top of my head that occurred as you were making your presentation.
I'm looking up there to see which ones I want. I would definitely go along with looking at PR communications and its possibility. Well, I won't go into possibilities, but if that is something that we have talked about for probably the last 5 to 6 years, and it's always been, this is a great idea. Yep, we really need to do something like this, and then it comes to the funding aspect of it, and it's like, whoops, we don't have any money. I sometimes think that if you expend the money, find it somewhere, the good that it does in getting good news out to the world will achieve more than the money it costs, because ultimately it's social media reputation that flows from a city. And while we have challenges, we have a great number of opportunities, and we have a lot of good people here and a lot of really good businesses. But I'd like to buy my clothes in Hemet instead of having to go to Temecula. And that was my battle cry 8 years ago when I ran for council, was I want to shop in Hemet. And we don't have enough of shopping. Let's put it this way. We have enough restaurants, and we're getting more. And gas stations. Well, see, that's SB1 money and Measure A money. So those are good. Gas stations are good. They are our friends. So yes, I would be all in favor of getting estimates or getting quotes on a PR firm and a telephone system. Welcome. Do you have more?
Could we?
More, Linda. Linda, do you have more? Do you have more?
No. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so with the homeless program, Chris, is it possible to find out, because you mentioned, you said something about calls earlier, so is it possible to find out how many calls that the Hemet Police Department, the fire, and paramedics respond to as far as homelessness?
And Public Works.
And Public Works?
Yeah, we can pull some information and report back to the council on what we've been able to pull together, but we should be able to do that, council member.
And you're looking at a financial number of how much we spend responding?
Yeah, I'd like to see, because I didn't know that. I'd like to see, she's like reading my mind. So I'd like to see like what it would look like money-wise, like how much money we're spending on, like, you know, versus people who are not homeless. So you have the people who are homeless, how many calls do we respond to that, how much money we're spending on that, like we're forced to spend on it, not dealing with the problem, and then looking at how much money we're spending on, obviously it's going to be more of it, just to see how much, get an idea of how much we're already spending on homelessness.
Sure.
And then also, could you provide some numbers for the sidewalk repair?
It's a very good question. So the program that they've developed initially for us, they've got kind of 3 different options. The first option is that the city would get a survey that was completed by this contractor, where they would go out, survey all of the sidewalks, and basically create an inventory of where the issues are, the condition of the sidewalk, and then if any work needed to be done, the type of work that would have to get done. A second version might be they do an assessment and then they start doing some of the sidewalk repair on a grid basis. So they split the city up into 40 different grids, and they tackle 3 grids every year, or however much time you want to allocate to it. The inventory would then be done a couple of different ways. They could do the inventory, get an idea of what it's like, start doing some of that work, and then go to a different area. The third concept would be that the city does its own inventory, gets an idea of what's going on, and then they simply just do the work. They just do the sidewalk repair. I think based on conversations with the JPIA, that what makes the most sense in terms of lessening the city's exposure is really doing an assessment and then concurrently doing the work. So that way the city can show that they're taking action to do the work. And so I've estimated, based on conversations with the contractor, that allocating anywhere from about $250,000 to $350,000 would have a impact on the city's sidewalks. There is no telling how far that gets you, because until they do the accurate assessment, they don't know the condition of the sidewalks thoroughly. So it's really dependent upon the condition of the sidewalks to determine how far that gets you with the actual work. So I'd say about $250,000 to $350,000 would be a good start for the city.
Could we also add, okay, so there were several comments, I believe, in the last council meeting where I know one gentleman was talking about an area that was, I believe, maybe outside of the city, but it's like between the lakes and Target. There's no sidewalk for the people to go from the lakes area to like Target. And maybe that's like a question that we kind of push on the county. But and then also there's another woman who mentioned that when her children walk to school, there are times, not times, but every time they walk to school that they're walking on the street because there's no sidewalk. So when we do the analysis, is it possible that we can also look at where the sidewalks are missing, or there's no sidewalk, so we can add sidewalk there? Because maybe there's a curve, but then it's just grass or dirt. Can we add, you know what I mean, like sidewalk there? Because I think that would enhance the public safety. Because if we're talking about opening the city up to litigation, or protecting the city from litigation, then I think it would also make sense to look at areas that don't have sidewalks and where people have to get, children have to walk in the street now.
That's a great point, council member. There are, the first thing that came to my mind was safe routes to school.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I'll bring up too, and I mentioned it in the email, was that the city should be receiving an allocation. We did receive our first allocation from the feds with respect to our ARP funding. And so one of the things that the council, and we'll set up a workshop or a work study to talk about this more in depth, is the council may want to think about projects or funding allocations that have a far greater lasting impact than, let's just say, a 5 or 6 month infusion. So I think what you're talking about hits on multiple prongs. It's got that long-term impact and effect, but it also has the dual purpose of lessening the potential exposure, lessen the city's liability. So I think just putting that out there kind of globally, infrastructure, it was an item that came up previously in the council discussions. It came up on Thursday again. There may be a good opportunity to utilize some of the ARP funding to deal with the city's infrastructure.
And Mayor, if you don't mind, I just wanted to emphasize my concurrence. I usually try to stay out of policy matters and stick to the legal, but I can tell you on the legal side, the lack of a city survey and any kind of systematic attempt to review and repair our sidewalks is a consistent liability concern for this city. So whatever funds the council believes are adequate or appropriate, that's certainly in your guys' hands. But I do think it is, the JPIA is concerned about it, and your city attorney is concerned about the lack of this type of program in the city.
If I could add something to that, mainly a question. How do we force Caltrans to put sidewalks on the south side of Florida Avenue from the lakes to Target?
That is
The highway.
an excellent question. I think that, the recommendation from Councilmember Lilienthal was not something that had occurred to me. I was worried just about the existing sidewalks. But I think that, if we're going to take a comprehensive approach to this and talk about the safety of the community, knowing where the sidewalks are not, and then I think, there may be an opportunity to, for example, looking at the circulation element of our general plan, other things like that, to really identify those areas that are a priority for our community, not just the drivability of the community, but the walkability of the community.
Right, absolutely.
And so I think that, that takes it definitely up to the policy level. Just at the legal level in the trenches, as we've been, I can tell you that, getting some kind of program off the ground, even if we're starting out modestly, I think would be the kind of thing that, the council may want to strongly consider.
I agree. And if I could share, I've had that conversation with Caltrans, and their answer was there's a crosswalk. They can go across Florida Avenue and then walk on the north side, and then when they get down to Target, past Target actually, they can cross back over the street. Like, that's not acceptable. There are people in wheelchairs that would like to be able to access and have that freedom of mobility that a sidewalk necessitates, and not to have to cross Florida Avenue twice to get to a particular store. So when you go after them, let me know and I'll come. You get your mic on.
Florida Avenue is Caltrans, and we can't do anything with the city. In a couple of days, I should be available if you want me to walk the streets and find all the bad spots on the sidewalks. I'd be more than happy to do that for you guys.
So there's a couple of plaintiff firms that are well ahead of you, Councilmember.
Okay, I have a few on this also. After listening at our town hall and then with our council priorities, I mean, the number one thing that we identified, and it seems that the public did too, was blight and homelessness. So I would say, the cannabis services, we have that rolling. Is that fair to say? So you don't need direction on that. And I don't know if this will kill you, Chris, but I feel like the cleanups need to be up to 4 a year until, and I say up to, let's at least commit to 2, but let's budget for 4, because until we get the trash under control, how many pounds did we get rid of? Remember?
Malcolm knows the number.
I'm sorry, how many tons?
Give me a second.
I will let him find that. But what I recommend that we do is I'll make a motion to direct staff to come back with, I think staff needs to figure out, at this point they're not going to go get the proposals, but I feel like they need to bring back budget numbers for us on these 4 items and maybe adding 2 more trash days so that we can look at that. Because we can't approve anything until it's in the budget in the first place, right? But if we can direct staff to come back with something for the telephones, something for the homeless program, maybe a cost for the sidewalk repair, something that we can budget for. Do you understand what I'm asking, Chris?
Yeah, I think, and I'll just throw these numbers out. Did you have a chance to get the data?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we collected 20.05 tons of trash, 5.97 tons of metal, 0.96 tons of tires, and 3.74 tons of e-waste.
So what we can do is certainly the costs are included in the budget, but we'll give you a line item of what that dollar amount is, and we'll highlight that at our next discussion. I think the telephone system update that we had looked at, I think one of the costliest part was running the necessary cable to do that. But I think it was about $100,000 to $125,000. This was a preliminary cost estimate. I did mention that based on other communities that I've worked at, that a PR communications firm on the low side is probably about $75,000 for, obviously that's not an FTE, but that's, some work that they would do. And then upwards of, $150,000 for more engagement in terms of more hours that are under contract.
I just think that all these things align with the priorities that we set on all the levels. And so I feel like you need to figure out how to program those into the budget.
Yeah, one of the things, the only one that we didn't talk about for a dollar amount is the homelessness program. I think it makes sense to centralize that program so that it's, they can report to the homeless ad hoc, they can report to the council, they can provide updates to me about what's going on. It may make sense to do some of the data gathering that's necessary to understand more in depth what's going on in our specific community. I know that's the first step that a lot of agencies do to get a better understanding that's more in depth beyond what a point in time count might do, but really gives the council an idea about who are the people in the community. Do they have ties to the community? Do they have family that is local? Can they be relocated? That type of information to really understand who's specifically here. There's a number of groups that do that in the community. I can certainly get some costs of what that might be, and I think that
Figure out how it could fit into your program for the city,
And I could get some ideas of what those costs might be so that the council gets an idea of what that might be. But I see that as being the first step in getting a thorough assessment or, updating the strategic plan with respect to homelessness to get an idea of what the city could potentially do in the future.
Right, because if we just keep doing nothing, it's just going to keep getting worse, and it's multiplying by the day. So, do we need a motion for this, or do you just want to take direction? Do everybody want to shake their head yes or no?
That would
I don't
be
care.
best for me.
But I think that he needs to work on these 4 items and then add 2 trash days. That's fine. So you can say yes or no or add things.
Homelessness is also important because I talked to the manager at Staples and several other of those business owners there, and they talk about how sometimes the people in the community are afraid because sometimes they'll approach them, and sometimes they're aggressive. If they give them like their spare change, and then they start saying things like, you need to give me like the paper money and not just the coins. And so sometimes the people out there, they say that sometimes the business doesn't happen because the person will go to like a different area or something like that, or maybe go to Temecula. And so some of them have been talking about losing sales because of how much homeless is around here. And so the business owners, the smaller business owners, have asked me to see if we could push this because they feel like the city hasn't been supportive of them and more in the way of penalizing. And so they saw one in particular was telling me that if the city could get behind some kind of homeless initiative, they would feel more supported instead of always penalized or something because they can't keep their area clean because other people are trashing it up.
All right. Well, if that is enough direction for you, I think that you gave a good presentation. I like the things that you've added back, like our Station 5. And the medic unit is the medic unit at 1 that used to run on random days or something.
Yeah, it currently runs, I think, 2 days out of the week. I don't remember off the top of my head how much we've allocated there, but I believe it's the same amount that we have now, if not more.
That was what used to run before.
What it used to run before, it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I like to see all the programs and everything that you've put in there already too. So, all right, any other comments? Anybody? Did everybody shake their head yes or no? I know Linda said yes. Yes. Russ, you good with all this? Do you have any more to add? Cool. All right. Is that enough direction for you?
That's good for me, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Excellent. And next we'll go to City Council and staff reports. Councilmember Brown.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Riverside County Habitat Conservation Agency actually had some good news, and got a couple of the highlights, but in the interest of time, I won't go through them all. But I want to, we're well on the track for downlisting the Stevens kangaroo rat, but there's so many other facets to this conservation efforts that are being done. And one of the things that people may not even realize is that to control some of the invasive weeds that are impacting the habitat, one of the things that they do is they make their area available to CAL FIRE for wildland fire training. And so it's not just CAL FIRE, they have other municipal fire agencies that participate in that. And so it's a way of controlling, it's kind of a win-win. It controls the invasive weeds and also provides an opportunity for public safety fire training. So that's some good stuff. On a less uplifting note, under Western Community Energy, I need to point out that a press release was issued that yesterday Western Community Energy, WCE, Board of Directors approved a resolution declaring a fiscal emergency and authorized its legal counsel to move forward with the filing of a Chapter 9 bankruptcy petition to allow for the restructuring of WC's financial obligations. There were several external contributing factors that impacted WC's financial situation since the program was implemented at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. There's a much more in-depth press release, so if anybody wants more information on that, the media contact is Elisa Laurel, and I'll give you the phone number, 951-206-4498. That's 951-206-4498. This press release went out yesterday afternoon, so I anticipate it'll be in the press enterprise at least probably tomorrow. And we're hopeful that this is successful in helping with the fiscal emergency, but time will tell. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Krupa?
Just a couple of things. For John Paul, if you would add Southern California Association of Governments and also RCA to my list. But speaking of RTA, we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago. But apparently we don't have an alternate because it's got my name as the primary and to be appointed as the alternate. So if that could be checked, I thought we had, but I don't know.
For RCA?
Yes.
I thought I was.
We definitely need to appoint someone as an alternate on that. So
Do you just want to do it, Russ? I mean, be the alternate?
If nobody else wants it.
So exciting. Well, you're the alternate for RCTC, and it's now governed by the same law.
Yeah. I thought we had
I
done
thought you were,
that before.
yeah. But we'll just add Councilmember Brown as RCA alternate.
Appreciate that. The Hemet Library is open, as was stated earlier this evening, and their summer reading program, Tales and Tales, is getting all set to go, and it will be a grab and go like it was last year. So let your friends and relatives who have smaller children, actually all the up to age 18, but it's a grab and go bag of goodies and reading material that will be going out. League of California Cities, the last couple of weeks we've been having Zoom meetings with all of our elected representatives in Sacramento, and they all basically have the same theme in that they're outnumbered. So we need to balance the power in Sacramento. Let's see, going through. The Amazon Central Water Master Board. We had a meeting yesterday, and we reviewed the annual financial audit and also the annual report, which is probably about an inch and a half thick, and that goes to the court, filed with the court every year. But some of the good news on that is that the water lap table, for most of the management area and the different aquifers that are out there in different sections, we're actually gaining ground. So since the water master was appointed, I think in 2013, there's evidence of decreased water being taken from the basin and increased recharge into the basin. So it is working conservation-wise. Our water table is in better shape than it was 10 years ago. And also on that, you can hear me. And also the really good thing was that unanimous vote of the Water Master Board of Directors to decline the first right of refusal on the water credit deal between the City of Hemet and Eastern Municipal Water District. So since that has been approved by both boards of our council and the Board of Directors, Water Master said basically it's fine. Water Master does not want to purchase those credits, so therefore the agreement between Hemet and Eastern is a done deal. So thank you for all of the input, and I know staff worked diligently on getting that agreement going, and it was, in my opinion, done extremely well, and it will definitely be a benefit to the City of Hemet and to Eastern. So that's it for my reports. All right, Councilmember Lilienthal.
I don't have anything for this, only the ad hoc.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Mills?
Yes, skate park, I haven't heard anything back on the grant that we submitted, so that's still on hold. The Planning Commission had a conditional use permit, CUP 20-006 for El Toro Express for alcohol sales, and it was denied. I think they exceeded already the amount of liquor licenses in that certain area. Development Review 21-005 Citrus Point for the design and plotting with single-family homes for the remaining 27 lots within Tract 31-620-1, and for the design and completion of the scenic highway setback on Lot 48 passed. I believe it passed. Community Action Program, we had our special meeting when I was supposed to be on a Zoom call for the community action, so I have no idea what they discussed, and I'm hoping to get a video of it and to go through it. The League of California Cities, as Council Member Krupa mentioned, they've been pretty busy out of town up north, but they had this interesting thing on their website. I'm not sure if the city manager's seen this, but it's Governor Gavin Newsom's revised May budget proposal includes big wins for cities and Californians, but the devil is in the works. The governor announced a record-breaking $267.8 billion revised May budget proposal on Friday, $40 billion higher than the one proposed, and it gives you a list of all all the money and where it's going to be utilized, and a lot of it has to do with homeless and the turnkey program. So I put these out on the desk in front if anyone's interested in it. Ramona Bowl, June 5th, My City Youth will be hosting the My City Fiesta 2021 starting at 6 p.m. at the Ramona Bowl. And this doesn't have anything to do with the Ramona Bowl, but there's also the Veterans Paying It Forward will also be hosting their annual Veterans Barbecue starting at high noon at Ronnie's and Sally's in Mountain View Center on the same day. And the WCE Gone Way of Enron. That's all I have.
Okay. I have mostly ad hoc committee reports also. So first we have ad hoc committee reports, council protocol. We're working on adding, you guys are adding one more item.
We just received a draft document from the city attorney to add to that. So I think Linda and I are going to try to get together tomorrow to review that and incorporate it into the draft. So that's a new draft.
And item number 2, banking RFP, that we completed that last meeting. So number 2 can be removed. Number 3, our vision and mission ad hoc. We just had our town hall, so we'll keep that on the calendar. Number 4, cleanup and graffiti. Lilienthal Males.
Same thing, clean up on Saturday at Adopt a Block, and they're there every day. I think I missed last week because we had a thing at the pantry, so I missed it Saturday. But they're hard at work and cleaning up the city. And they are requesting paint so they can start painting some of the graffiti that's on the walls and buildings.
As long as it matches.
Sorry?
As long as it matches. It has to match.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, just making sure.
Well, so what kind of direction could we give the city manager about getting us a paint matcher tool?
Malcolm had an idea on getting a paint matching machine, and we can mix our own
the city
paint.
used to have one, but I don't think we do anymore.
I think it's an app now, so it's all on a phone. That's what I've been told.
Really?
So if you can you tell us what app that is so I could tell the groups?
Yeah, I'll follow up with
Because then Lowe's and Home Depot, if they walk in with it, they could mix it.
I'll follow up with staff.
And then as far as the business is concerned, it's late notice, but at the Chamber of Commerce from 5:30 to 7:30 tomorrow night, there will be a food truck there. Also, there's a multi-network business after 5 mixer, but this is in Paris from 5:30 to 7 o'clock at the bomb shelter. And this is May 27th. And then if you're a business owner and you go inside of Staples and, because they're trying to partner with all the businesses as well, you can advertise your business. They have a little, a little board you can put your cards and stuff up and flyers for your business there. You just talk to where you make the flyers at, and they'll direct you how to go on their website so that you can get your business advertised inside of Staples. And one more thing was on June 3rd, expect a job fair. I'm making several connections to see if so Staples and I think Stadium Pizza's interested. All the different businesses hiring here, and then we have one more business outside, which is a staffing company. I think it's called Staff Mart, for a company called Denso, but you don't have to work at Denso. In Temecula/Marietta, the staffing company can put you wherever, so they'll be there as well too on June 3rd, in between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. at the Chamber of Commerce.
Also in business, I like to add to that. I went with a chamber last week to give plaques out to two new companies for their grand openings. And both companies were looking to expand. One was a Springs Charter School. They're in Hemet and in San Jacinto. And these two companies were in San Jacinto. And they were both interested in expanding. The Springs Charter School wants to open a robotics course, and they're not sure if they want to open up in Hemet or San Jacinto. So I kind of talked to them about opening in Hemet if possible. And then the other one was J&H Automotive. They're looking for a bigger building, and I sent you the information. Hopefully Brenda's contacted them to see where we're at with it and see where they're at. So that was a good day.
Homeless Outreach Ad Hoc Committee. We were able to have a meeting this week. This was real exciting. I don't know that this has happened before, but we had a meeting with San Jacinto. The San Jacinto city manager, our city manager was there. He had his staff there, and even a council member was there. And we were able to go over homeless strategies, alignments, different things like that. And so I think moving forward, there's open communication and collaboration. So it's exciting. Let's see. And then the last is the investment RFP. We need to get that decided before the next council meeting. Are you good? Do you still have time to do it, or should I have somebody else?
I've got it.
You have an idea? Okay. All right. Just let me know, or just call me this week, and we can do it on the phone or whatever. I'll be in and out and around, and same with you. Okay. All right. City Manager Lopez.
Just wanted to give that shout out number 2 while I'm up here. John Paul, Brenda, Kathy, Brandon from Public Works, incredible job for the work that they did last Thursday. So just want to thank them publicly for everything that they did.
And those amazing posters.
So I will make sure and let my girlfriend know that she did a good job with the poster.
Did you measure the seal? I noticed that one of them wasn't in the right spot.
She wanted to make sure that everybody knew that I put the stickers on there because I didn't measure them out like she measured all the rest of the stickers out. So I'll let her know.
Horrible. Thank you. Right. All right. Item number 17, future agenda items.
Yes. I'd like to see if how we do this, and legal is going to have to weigh in on this. But today, Carly and I and staff had a Zoom meeting with representatives from Rancho Diamante on the items that I had pulled from the specific plan amendment and the general plan amendment regarding traffic circulation on the west side and the widening of Warren Road. And I had listened in on the last Planning Commission meeting where they had discussed it, and a lot of information came out during that discussion, and also there was more information that came out today. And I think we need to, if we can put this back on a council agenda without it staying in
run it to the infrastructure committee.
Well,
be a good study for them.
They could. Now that's an idea. So can we do that? Can we send it to infrastructure committee? They had asked to see it, or how do we do that without delaying it? Because that hadn't come up this afternoon.
Sure. If it's the council's pleasure, I mean, all you have is the second reading of the specific plan amendment. You've already approved all the other items because they were done by resolution.
Right.
It was sent because there were some questions that the council had, especially you, Councilmember Krupa. It sounds like you observed the Planning Commission and you've gathered additional information about this specific project. And so I think that if you wanted to put it back on the next council meeting for second reading and approval, that's great. I did get the sense, because I've observed these meetings as well, that there's some broader questions that the community has about the traffic on the southwest portion of the city. And, especially with, is Route 79 ever going to get realigned? What effect is that going to have on the local streets? And, wanting additional information, and information that may be very useful to the Infrastructure Commission, to the Planning Commission. And talking it over with staff, in addition to bringing this item back, because, this is a discrete project, but to answer those broader questions, one of the things that I talked about with staff was maybe if the council wanted to make another future agenda item, not just the second reading, but another future agenda item to be a budget and a project description for an update to the general plan circulation element. I believe the last time that was significantly looked at, HP, was maybe 2012. So,
well, it was probably done when we did the GPAC, the General Plan Advisory Committee, and we looked at everything at that point because the general plan hadn't been updated for like 20 years.
Yeah, and I read the general plan circulation element, and it talks about Route 79 and how that funding's just right around the corner.
Yeah.
And so so I do think that maybe directing staff to get that, get a budget together for that, get a project description for that. That would entail a significant amount of study on the very issues that seemed to be pressing to this council, pressing to the Planning Commission. And then once that's, once in developing that update, then it could go to Infrastructure Commission, then it can go to Planning Commission. They could actually have the data, they could give input to staff, and then you would have a new circulation element that could be brought back to the council for approval. So that's an alternative.
So this is how I see it. So first we need to have a motion to bring back the Diamante project next council meeting. So I'll make that motion.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay, any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, 5-0.
Got you.
Yes.
Almost 10 o'clock, so I got to keep on at the time. Now, the other discussion is, this is so important, and the whole, the traffic and everything that we've talked about. What we have to do is, as far as what we made in our council priorities, where does this fall in priority-wise, and do we want to put it on, you know what I mean? We can put it on this list, but it won't be higher on the priority because there's other things that we put higher. So do you want to wait and put this on here, or do you want to?
Question.
You know what I'm talking about? I mean, we could put it on, but just be like, it will cost a good amount of money, but it needs to be done. But it's like, you think about the infrastructure improvements that we want to make and where it falls in. We can make our list all day, but we got to make sure we stay in the priority list.
Why don't we talk with city manager and staff on exactly what it would entail and get some general feedback on that before we put it on a council agenda as a priority item. We know it's going to come. We know it has to be done, but
remember when we had our priority sessions? We have ongoing, we have future. This just might be a future item.
This may be a future item, and it's a good time to have an informal discussion about it, because there may be some things on that we can use for leverage to get increased funding to someday get Highway 79 done.
And why don't we maybe we can direct staff to actually add it. Chris, maybe you could add it to our strategic plan and add it on our future priorities. Because we'll need it soon when we get to a certain point.
Yeah, we need to keep it
Maybe you can
as
add
part
it
of
to our future
what we are
priorities.
doing,
Okay.
because it's extremely important, especially now with all the development on the west side. I mean, there's about over 1,000 homes that are going in out there, and that's not even counting McSweeney, and everybody ends up on the same streets. So it's extremely important.
We'll get them cleaned up, and then we'll.
There you go. And we'll get sidewalks.
All right, is there any other, yes, and sidewalks. Any other future agenda items? All right, with that, we will adjourn.